Why it is a gossip? That is the beauty of the Eastern wisdom. It gives you a logical answer. You need not to believe. It is not a cult. It is not a dogma. So what it says then, word in our mind, this entire world has two dimensions in our mind. The world has only one dimension. What is that two dimension? First dimension is that I will be happy if I control this world. Controlling means what? What I desire should be achieved by me. I desire to have a Miss Universe to be my wife. I will be happy. If not, I will be unhappy. Now see the two dimension. Who created the two dimension? Me. Why I created these two dimensions? Because I'm ignorant about the nature of the world. Okay, you got married to the Miss Universe, but if the Miss Universe says hell with you, so you see the two dimensions that is working in my mind, and that is due to the ignorance. The world is in flux, it is constantly changing. I would say the world does not belong to anyone. Why? It is constantly changing. It is in flux. So when we recognize the nature of the world, and then you live in the world, and you are not touched by the world. So when you are not touched by the world, then what happens? Your happiness and unhappiness do not depend on the world. That I have to apply daily in my life. I have to analyze every day how many times I got upset, and then I have to find out the cause, because I wanted this thing this person should have done my way, and that my way is my ego. My ego wanted to rule over the world. That is why I'm talking. The world has only one dimension. The world remains as it is. It is the most beautiful world we see, but we distort the world through our mind because of our desire, because of our attachment, because of our conflict. I will settle a score with you. What I mean? I mean I want to change the world with that person. And that is causing the problem in our life. And in both the cases, whether you fulfill the desire, yes, you are happy. How long that happiness remains? How long? Hardly for a day or two. Maybe you buy a new car and the happiness remains for about a week. And then after a month, you see, oh, I have to take my car to a car wash. It is so dirty. I forgot. Same thing with the clothes, same thing with the house, same thing with any relations. So my perception of the world is ignorant, is done by the misconception, wrong ideas, wrong notion, and that causes the problem. Otherwise, the world as such is most beautiful world. This world is created by the existence, by the God. How can it be ugly? But my mind, because it perceives the world according to my desire, my inclination, my attachment, that causes the problem. My dad is a crazy. For example, I don't see the contribution my dad made. Thank God. I would have been mosquito now because of the parents, I'm a human being. So once I think in this way, I start contributing. That is the real humility. Humility is not practiced, humility is recognized and realized and lived. Lived. I was talking to this guy and I said, What the heck, you divorced and then you are still talking to that girl. I said, I'm okay, but let me know why you are talking. You know what he said? I wanted to clarify, can she really live without me? I said, how many months you have a divorce? No, almost a year. Don't you think she is already living? Don't you think so? Is it not a testimony that she is already living? She did not call you, you call him, you call her. So, do you have a problem of attachment? He left it. I think it has been 3 weeks now.
Since you've talked to him?
They talked to him, and then he said, I realized this. This is my problem. I was overburdened in my mind because of the ego, and my ego was saying, no, she is missing me, and she is happy.
Yeah.
So I see the world in a distorted way. Why I see the world in a distorted way? Because of the ignorance. And this ignorance is such a disease, cannot be treated by any medical doctor. You have some illnesses, you can go to the doctor, they will prescribe you medication. Go to the doctor next time and you say, can you treat my attachment? Can you treat my ignorance? Ignorance has to be treated by this Eastern wisdom. It is a subjective science. It tells you, gradually it takes you to who is that real I. So the life, that is why it is not a practice, but a life of the humility, and always in the mind it is of a giving nature. You are relaxed throughout the day. You enjoy your life. You don't feel that fatigue and the tiredness.
Yeah.
Our impressions in millions of numbers are hidden, accumulated, and hidden in the mind. They are in Eastern wisdom, they are known as vasanas, they are also known as sanskaras, past impressions, and they are also known as vasanas, and they are also known as the karma, action. Means they are ready to act. They are ready to trigger your mind to put you into the action, to have a misconception of this world, and I start living in ignorance, and that is why I'm suffering. Our impressions are hidden deep inside the mind. We have to purify these impressions. They resurface when we meet a situation, an event, in a person, in a relationship. We start thinking accordingly. It causes the likes and dislikes, pain and the pleasure, and we are caught in the pain and pleasure. We focus more on the objective side. As you focused on that so-called beautiful girl, I haven't met her. Yeah, so your focus was there. Why your focus was there? You became that girl. That's why you were frustrated. Because I am separate and I become that. So the mind veils us from in the ignorance. It does not allow you to think. Our intellect is paralyzed. At least one time, she should have called me. Why? Why she should? I'm reminding you that you should not follow the same. Why we are saying behind that idea, that thought in the mind, there is an intelligence. And that intelligence is consciousness. That consciousness is the real self. Because of our craving, desiring mind, covers, veils that consciousness like a curtain. Sun is already there, but the curtain is preventing the sun to enter into my room. That sun of the real self, that peace and happiness, always present 24/7. We have to remove the curtain of the mind. And there, all these smaller principles have been summarized as giving nature and the humility. Giving nature and the humility. Pay attention, be very clear. This knowledge demands a repetition. Not only repeat listening, when you are repeat listening, this guy, I was talking just about it, he had such a great revelations. I could see his face in the very couple of months before. Now he is bubbling with energy and calmness and peace. That guy who owns 5 or 6 homes and he says, I have short of money. I said, yes, my perception. And last week I said, okay, now I understand. I don't have any and you. You have everything in your life. You see how the mind cheats us. So repeat listening helps us to settle that knowledge in our mind. It changes our behavior. So once you see that it has started changing your behavior and attitude and the responses to the people outside, obviously we have become a seeker. So we are in the third step. There are 2 branches of the knowledge. We should be very clear. One branch of the knowledge, you can say science or the material knowledge. Physics and chemistry and biology, medicine and your business, builder business, they're all material knowledge. You get a certification. But what exactly is the utility of that knowledge? You cannot think beyond earning money, having resources, building possessions, having some authority, getting recognized. There is no utility, there is no other utility of that knowledge. Find out. That material knowledge that we get from outside. So we have to very clearly understand this material knowledge works in the world itself. It is good, it is important to have the basic necessities of our life. So it gives us a luxury and the comfort. And the luxury and the comfort comes in the territory of the ego. You already told me last week that people are crazy. They want 10 million home and $11 million home. So they want a luxury and the comfort, but it works in the it is confined in the territory of ego.
But what if it's not? Like, what if I had this knowledge and I decided, and let's say I just had a whole bunch of money and I wanted to buy $11 million home?
No problem at all. But first I have to realize it. The first will not work. Material knowledge will not work in the beginning. This Eastern wisdom knowledge has to work in the first. I have to enter into a state of realization of the real self. I remain detached. I buy a $20 million home and the next day the same $20 million home is on the fire. What happens to a realized person? Oh, it has come, so it has to go. So today it has gone. But not the other way. It cannot go the other way. You have changed the topic, so let me deviate a bit. My master, living at the height of 15,000 feet in the Ganges glacier, you see why I am happy?
He lived where?
In the Ganges, near the Ganges glacier in the Himalayas.
At the 15,000 feet
Yeah.
elevation?
Yeah. We used to go there and we used to spend a couple of months together.
Did you breathe up there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's really high altitude.
Yeah, this high altitude. But we used to, at least, for 3 months, But he passed at least 6 or 7 years of his austerity and penance in those Himalayas.
Wow.
Even at the age of 89, he used to go there.
Wow.
So he used to say, you see that, why I'm happy and why I say I'm the king, because I don't possess anything. But I said, what difference it makes? Because the moment you possess anything, your mind will continue to work to secure your possessions, to maintain. I don't have that. This monastery also belongs to you people. You have built a trust. I'm not even a member. And that is why I'm a king. That is why I'm the happiest person. And that is why he said I'm the richest person, because I'm happy. You are beggars. He used to very straight and blunt. He said, for how many days you have come? I have come for a month. Oh, only for a month, After that, you are going to become a beggar again. So we used to laugh, but we used to understand that, what he meant it. So the Eastern knowledge of the Eastern wisdom focuses on who am I, what is the nature of the world, and it is a lifelong journey. We have to continue until we reach to that state. Let me give you another example. There is a book I have written. I think you should get this.
I bought it.
Oh, you already bought Happiness and Wisdom Speak?
The one you emailed me last week.
Oh, Happiness and Wisdom Speak. You must read that book. That is only the one chapter of the book I have explained in 300 pages.
Okay.
So the name of the master was Ashtavakra, and the name of the seeker was Janaka. So this Janaka was a king of a great kingdom, lived almost 4,000 years ago. That king became a seeker, and he reached to that state of enlightenment. So even the contemporary masters used to bow down to him, because he reached to the very highest state of enlightenment. So your answer is that you can be a king and you can be enlightened. You can be a monk, you can be enlightened. You can be a student, you can be enlightened. You can be a parent, you can be enlightened. Outer world, its situation, condition, relations does not matter. So in the first chapter, there is a dialogue, question and answer. That is the book. And you just read it and go again and again. And if you cannot understand, I just picked up through many examples. And the more you are absorbed into that understanding, once the intellect will shine, oh, this is what it is. This is what this real guy is talking about, the real self. The first chapter makes it clear. I have yet to write the second. There are 20 chapters, so every chapter needs a detailed explanation. So the master says this without this self-discovery, the suffering will never come to an end. Will never come to an end. Why? So now he is speaking of the principle. That is what the step 3. Life is nothing. You can say the life is to receive and give. I am giving, you are receiving. I am receiving the breath and giving out the carbon dioxide. At the physical level, there is always a receive and give. At the mental level, there is always a receive and give. There is always, at the emotional level, at the mental level, there is a constant receiving and giving. What is that ego? That only wants to receive. It gets limited. So the step 3 says, break the shell of ego. When we break that shell of ego, we find sigh of relief. We feel calmness. That is what this guy did. He was talking to, even now, today he was talking, it was because of ego. I see that every thought is colored and it takes a different shape and the form of an ego. And then he was asking me, is it right? I said, yes. Because that lives in such a self-centered. But what is the problem? I'm constantly receiving from the world outside. If I don't give, I will be punished. That is known as the sin, another definition of the sin in religions. I need not to go to the church or a temple or any religious places. Sit aside, recognize who is giving me. Let me emotionally, mentally recognize. Why to recognize? The very recognition starts dissolving that ego. I have to do, my main goal is to drop this ego. It's working like a hindrance, as a curtain. Have you not seen who always gives love and peace and happiness? And who always gives, problem, sometime you might have found someone in your family, the moment that guy enters, everyone tries to avoid. And sometime one is very open, ready to receive, ready to give. They're very well respected. So we have to change our nature in the world of giving mode instead of a receiving mode. That is why we discussed in the last week that who gives the intention to the nature to give. Intention of the orange tree to give the oranges, mango tree to give, air to give me the air, breath, the space to give me to move, the earth give me to place to walk on. Who gives the intention to the nature? That very intention comes from the intelligence. That intelligence is known as a consciousness. That consciousness, you can say it is a God. Everything in this nature gives. If it is a give, there must be a giver behind it. And that giver is the intelligence. You can say intelligence, you can say God, you can say consciousness. So it means that is why the God we say is present everywhere. You see, that is why we say God is present everywhere. Is not house giving you something? Yes. The very intelligence present in that house keeps one brick over the one wall so steady. I must need an eye of the mind to perceive this intelligence is working everywhere. And that consciousness is personalized in the form of a God in different religions. Because it is pervading everywhere. Where there is a change, it is there. And that change is affected by that intelligence. So there is a difference between the understanding of the science and the Eastern wisdom. Science says that nature is intelligent. Body is intelligent. When the body dies, why it is not working through the intelligence? Why it does not allow me to continue to live? What is your point of understanding? No. That intelligence is separate from the body. That is why we say, I am not the body, I am the real self. Look at this. The intelligence is totally free. It changes constantly everything according to the plan. You want to come to my house, you put the GPS, or you know the streets and the highways, and you approach. So that plan is already pre-planned in that consciousness. That how the crocodile will catch its prey. and how the human will eat their food. There has to be one intelligence, and that has to be independent. Body does not have any intelligence. If the body has intelligence, then this intelligence will say, I will continue to live forever. So we say that consciousness is independent, that is the real self. It is, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind. Whatever is changing, I am not. What is unchanging, I am. So the next day you wake up in the morning and you say, oh, my employee has changed. So take it easy, find out why and how he has changed. Is he required in the business? You go and talk to him, but don't create a wrong perception that he will continue to with you. If he is ready to leave, let him leave. Find out another. Live in peace. Don't worry about it. Friends comes and goes. Today is one friend. Today one person becomes your friend, and tomorrow becomes an enemy.
I don't like enemies.
Or maybe you keep a distance. He cheated or she cheated.
Yeah.
So there comes a special relationship between the teacher and the seeker. Teacher never leaves you. You leave the teacher. It doesn't make any difference.
What if I stop paying you?
That too is okay. That too is okay. So, because the teacher's goal is not to become a millionaire, its goal is to pass in that knowledge.
Yeah.
To a seeker.
After your master died, did you have to find another master?
No. He is still my master. He lives in me.
My king.
I'm paying my debt. Why? How? By teaching, by passing on this knowledge. So the tradition will continue. With that intention, when you do with that intention, your teacher always lives with you. How can you forget you lived 26 years? How can I forget he accepted me? How can I forget that? I don't see that I approached to him. I approached to him, but he accepted me. I was such a crazy guy in my 20s. I'm still crazy in a different way. So that relationship, because it is the relationship between consciousness and the consciousness that never dies.
Yeah.
I asked my master what will happen at a very young age, then what will happen if you die? He looked at me and had a very big laugh and he said, masters never die. You have to recognize that. And that touched my heart so deeply. Then I started seeing him as if he lives without the body. His inspiration. No issue. Why to have another teacher? So cause of the entire change in the world outside, in the entire cosmos, it has to be done by intelligence. Intelligence has to be conscious. Conscious means if I say I am conscious, it means I am consciousness. Consciousness cannot be the body, mind. Mind is matter, body is matter. If it is consciousness, that it is beyond time and space. Pay attention. That is a clear understanding. If it is a consciousness, that consciousness is beyond time and the space. And what is beyond the time and space has to be all pervading. That is the God we are searching. And that is not the God, that is also the real self. You see everywhere, there is something is working. And because in that consciousness there is no modification, there is no change. Oh, there is no change. That is why it is all pervading. That is why we say it is all So religions are not saying wrongly, but their approach is so much constricted by the wrong notions. One religion says, my God is all pervading, okay. And second religion says, my God is all pervading. It means there are two spaces for all pervading.
Yeah.
That is why people have a frustration about this. So why that frustration is known as the delusion. We have to remove that delusion. Another point I will talk in detail, but just pay attention. So that all pervading consciousness is present deep inside the cave of my heart as the inner self. It is different from the individual self. I have a smartphone, beautiful messages, videos, apps, and other. The heart of the smartphone is the chip. Without the chip, it cannot manifest, it cannot bring out the change, it cannot take the videos and send the messages at all. Same way it is body, mind, intellect, everything. What is happening in our life that there is an inner self and there is an individual self. There is always individual self veils the inner self. We have to unveil it. That is the realization. If that consciousness is all pervading, it means it is present in me also. So the individual self has a limited intelligence. That is why it has incomplete knowledge. If I have an incomplete knowledge, that is why I am seeking peace and happiness outside in the world. But the inner self says, no, come on, you are already peace and happiness. I don't pay attention to it. I don't explore it. I will talk in detail about this. I'm just giving a brief. That inner self is known as the formless God. God without name in the form. And behind that, there is a real self. And after the inner self, there is a personalized God and goddesses. They exist, yes. So that is the meaning of resurrection in your Christianity. You might have read, I know that. We will talk about that later. I deviated from that, from the main topic. So we don't disrespect any god and goddesses. We don't disrespect any religion. But if any religious guy says, help me realize Jesus in Christ, no, that's not my business. You have to discover the self. First you find out who you are, then automatically and naturally you will also find what is these gods and goddesses are. That inner self is not to be believed but to be known consciously. So at the same time we say inner self is not a part of the body, mind, intellect, ego. It is not matter, it is consciousness. It is present all the time. It is present when you are in stress, it is present when you are deriving pleasure. It is present when you are eating, it is present when you are in the restroom. So whatever master says that you have to recognize there are two eyes working. One eye pertains to the individual self, a sum of the body, breath, mind, intellect, and the ego, and other is that inner self, always working. No, I did not understand. Make me understand. Is there a moonlight? No, moon does not have a light, but it has a reflected light from the sun. So inner self is the sun, individual self is the moonlight. This individual self is a reflected light. That is why this dies. And that inner self never dies.
Hmm.
It's a reflected. So what is the medium of that reflection in the intellect or the mind? That consciousness, mind is acting like a mirror, and the real self is reflected on that mirror. It becomes a reflected consciousness. That reflected consciousness is the individual self. That reflection stops in deep sleep. That is why we are not aware whether we are sleeping or dead. But still, the consciousness is present. How do we know? When we wake up, we know it. It is continuously present in the deep sleep, dream, waking state. Again, the next day, same happen. It is present in uh, all our pain and the pleasure, sorrow and the grief. It is present in our frustration, but we don't recognize it. We recognize as the individual self, the moonlight as the real one. That is the mistake we are doing. That mistake is known as ignorance. It is always there. It has to be there. I told you, consciousness is that intelligence is present all the time, everywhere, behind the change. That real I never changes. That individual self or the false I always changes. So when we live our life of giving and awareness, we recognize what we recognize. The moment I see that any I that is changing is not me, instantly become aware. Use that I, but feel it is not me. What do you mean? In the morning I say I am stressed, one I. In the afternoon I say I am happy because I get a lot of money. In the evening I lost all the money, I am upset. So there are three I's already there. So we have more than 20,000 I's working, the false I is working in my life. That is the cause of my daily stress, suffering, pleasure, delusion, ignorance.
So,
I forget. Oh, I'm excited, come on, have a business project finalized. Let me have vodka now. Why vodka? Why don't you thank the real I? Why don't you thank the inner self? That played the role. That played the role. That played the role. Real I does not change. Real I does not change. So we are not thankful to that real I, or the inner self. We are thankful to the things that is constantly changing. It will change. So once we recognize that we are in a giving mode, we become a seeker. And the seeker never fails. The false I is always changing. It cannot maintain a status quo. It cannot say that I love my dad dearly. At one point of time, you say, no, I am done with you, dad. Enough. Your mind says. But in your dad represents the real self, then you always love. My guru represents that inner self, so he is not died. I have to separate the two in my head. You cannot separate it physically. I have to separate in my wisdom, in my knowledge. When we separate all the experiences of my mind, they are separate from me. I'm upset, no. That upset comes from the individual self. Pleasure comes from the individual self. That incident happened, that is a part of the individual self. Why? It is constantly changing. Now I'm not upset. It is not me. So you are constantly negating what you are not to find out what you are. Otherwise, intellectual fantasy. Otherwise, it is all intellectual fantasy. I love you, honey. I will take you to the moon. and the honey will drop you from the moon. I was waiting, you should take me to the moon, and after that I will drop you from the moon. I will find another. That is what I have been talking, you become a soulmate, relation, soulmate, and after a few weeks, soulmate. Because your individual self cannot stop creating likes and dislikes. Do whatever you want to do. That is the very nature of the ego. It has to work in the duality, in pairs of opposites. So it means what? Another way of recognition. As long as you recognize something working in you as a pairs of opposites, first thing you have to recognize, this is not me. I'm the inner self. You just say in your mind, you think. The moment you say and think, when you are not the pain or the pleasure, you separate yourself. The moment you separate, you already come down. We'll talk about it, that still the pain and the pleasure exist, how to deal with that. That is another topic. So I'm not approaching that. So world, what is this world of the body? Think of this. Body, more than 60 trillion cells, 60 billion cells alone presents in the brain. Every cell has an intelligence, the same consciousness. How do you know that consciousness is present everywhere in all the cells? You touch, you feel that. Anywhere. So that consciousness is present in all the 60 trillion cells, and that is why every 7 years the entire cells of the body is replaced because of that intelligence. Otherwise, how the 60 billion cells know when to change, how much to change, and how many cells will create my nose and create my ear? Nobody knows. It is the same intelligence. It is one intelligence working differently in every cell of the body. Group of the cells created eyes, nose, and etc., teeth, and what a great miracle. That consciousness is the inner self. That consciousness does not change, but it affects the change. Without changing itself, without working on itself, its presence changes every cell of the body. That's why we are aging. That's why the mind is evolving. That's why we become a seeker. That's why we become a realized person. Another massive lies is there. If the body is changing every 7 years, so the childhood body is already died. I should recognize this. So if I'm 49 years old, I died 7 times. I'm going to be 65, so this year. So how many? 7, 9, 6?
Like 9 times.
9 times. I've already died 9 times. I'm waiting for my death, you are living in delusion. I will die, I have a fear of the death. It's all ignorance, misconception. Misconception.
Why? When somebody does have a fear of death, the misconception is what?
Misconception is I am the body and I'm dying. That is the misconception. I'm not the body. Finished. So first I understand intellectually I'm not the body, then I go into a deeper meditation and I see there is always a separation. Body is here and I'm here. That I-ness is here. So once I live into that knowledge, means the knowledge is realized, then what happens? Then why do you have a fear of the death? I used to do a research and I said, when you rub your hand, you made 50,000 cells already dead and replaced by the new cells. Is it not a death? Oh, science says you rub it, you have already made more than 50,000 cells dead and already renewed, replaced by the new cells. So we get attached because we existed before the existence of the body, but we claim when we were born, that is the date of the birth. Did you not exist in the womb of the mother?
What about before the womb?
Yes, before the womb. At the point of the conception, was the consciousness not present? It was already present. It entered into that conception. It helped the body to grow. It took 9 months to come out of the womb of the mother. If the do you see, does the consciousness provided by the parents in the form of a semen and egg, they both are matter. At the time of that point of conception, intelligence knew it is the right time to enter there and start fertilizing, create different parts of the body. Let us wait for 6, 7, or 8 months, depending on my past impressions. The birth is. So I existed, that I, because I am not the body. So means my parents are the material cause of my birth, of the physical body. There are two causes. Material cause. I will talk about it, but I'm deviating a bit. And there is an efficient cause. How to understand that? You have a clay. Clay is a material cause. And pot maker who converts that clay into a pot is the efficient cause. Consciousness is the efficient cause. My parents are the material cause. You cannot say consciousness traveled through the semen and the egg. No, there is no consciousness. There is purely a matter, protein molecule. Protein molecule. From where the protein came? From the world outside. Hormone is a protein molecule. DNA is protein molecule. So always there are two causes, material cause and efficient cause, to affect a change in the world. Always. You are a builder. You are the efficient cause of that mansion that you build. But if you don't have a material, you cannot build. You already have a material. You have a space, you have a land, you have a plan, you have an architecture, and then you build. So do you want to say that matter, that space, contains the consciousness? No, you. You are the efficient cause. We'll talk in detail about that. That's when we start studying Gita. So what happens? We get hypnotized. We have a misconception that this body has taken the birth and body will die. The same thing. We experience the hunger and the thirst. It is because of this breath that I'm receiving in the form of the energy, and I'm giving back. I am not thankful to the existence. I'm releasing all the bad stuff, the carbon dioxide all the time. I don't want to connect myself to this existence. We are very poor guys. We are thankless guys. So Master says, live in the giving mode. Thank God. You can just use the word, thank God. Oh, it is because of the air I'm alive. Normally we say to this, honey, I'm alive because of you. I love you so much. I don't know what will happen if you leave me. And the next day, honey dies and I continue to live. after paying the service. It is all a misconception and ignorance. It doesn't mean that we should not go for a service. I'm not saying that. We should follow what society demands so that we do not create any problem. We do not become a problem creator. And then the mind creates an emotional dependence. All these parts of the individual self. Mind lives in joy and the sorrow, pain and the pleasure. Pain, my desire is not fulfilled. Pleasure, my desire is fulfilled. Unnecessary. I'm not in a giving mode. When I'm in a giving mode, thank you, God, you have given me the pain to build my endurance so that I can discover my real self. This world is in constant flux. This is going to change. Someday you get more, someday you get less. It is a fact. Sickness and health are dynamic state of the body. Can you tell anyone who remain healthy from the day when he is born until today? No possible. It is subject to change, but I am not a body. The suffering is not there. So when the pain is there in the body, you go to the doctor and get the treatment. But you are not suffering at all. I will tell you, it was published in 1932 Encyclopedia Britannica. I just remember. So in the ancient India, obviously it's the latest understanding, which was published in 1932 is not a long period. He was a king of Varanasi. Varanasi is a city like Phoenix mostly in central India. That city existed for more than 7,000 years. And there has to be a king of Varanasi. So normally those kings in those vicinity are great seekers and realized masters. And very rich. You already know that Britain has looted more than $60 trillion worth of diamond and the gold. They are lying in the museum in the Britain from India. So in those days they were very rich. So this king had a problem of appendicitis. So he was a rich guy, so the doctors came from England. Doctor said that we have to give you anesthesia. He said, no. How can we operate? You can operate. So I will lie down on your bed, and after 15 minutes for 2 hours, you can do any damn thing to the body. No worries at all. But make sure that within 2 hours, I have succeeded in keeping myself totally separate from the body. For 2 hours, I will go into meditation. He went into the meditation. Doctors were scared. They just made a scratch with a knife. He did not move. They did the surgery within 1.5 hours. He regained consciousness after 2 hours. Doctor said that, what do you feel? Oh, I feel little sensation around that belly. Otherwise, I'm okay. That is the testimony of the real self is independent. It is separate, independent from the body.
Yeah.
Not many such experiments were done later. Many experiments. Menninger Foundation is one of the finest research institutions in America. They did the research on Swami, another monk. There's Swami Rama. So they put all the electrodes to understand the brain waves. 10 scientists, top scientists from Harvard and from different institutions in US long back, I think, and it happened in 79 or 80. So when we say that that consciousness, that real self is independent of the body, it will not happen anything to the body. They put all the electrodes. Now you normally it is used as MRI, EEG. So they put through the brain waves, they discover whether the person is sleeping or not, or the person is dreaming. So this monk said that first 10 minutes, watch the brain waves, you will see that I'm in deep sleep. Another 10 minutes, you will see that I'm dreaming. Consciously, it shows that consciousness is independent. That paper became very popular, published in many journals. Independence. So when I recognize that I am is the real self, I recognize that real self is all pervading. I recognize that real self is free, independent, separate from this body, mind, intellect, and the ego and the I thought as an individual self. That is what the awakening is.